Hi, my name is Susan Stiffelman. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a parenting coach, and the author of Parenting Without Power Struggles and Parenting with Presence. And I thought I would share some of the things I've learned as I've transitioned into the virtual space. I had been a family therapist for a long time when I began doing live workshops. So after that, I decided to offer a newsletter that just shared tips and ideas with some of the people who had attended my live classes. I then wrote my first book, Parenting Without Power Struggles, and I became the weekly columnist for AOL and then Huffington Post on parenting, offering advice. So my reach was spreading, and I wanted to look for ways to connect more in an interactive way with the people who had been discovering the ideas I was teaching. In the early years, I was hosting online parenting summits on a variety of topics with wonderful people, and those consisted of phone conversations that were delivered in audio form to people who had signed up and registered. And they were either downloadable or you could listen on a streaming device. And eventually, I was looking for and found a platform that let me be seen, and that was kind of a new idea. People could actually see you and in real time, and eventually I could see other people too, and I could read their questions and read their comments in the chat. So this has been an evolution over many years. I think I was early on in the phase, partly because I wasn't trained in technology or internet marketing or any of those things. I was a family therapist and a teacher, and just wanted to get my ideas out to the most people that I could, and the virtual space really allows you to do that. So I'll say this a few times, but if you're a little nervous about what might be involved, what platform and all that, if someone like me can do it, you can do it too. So although I was doing a limited number of live speaking events before these days when we're not traveling, pretty much all of the work I do now is virtual, and it allows us to reach parents around the world, every possible corner, with wonderful content and support and guidance. And I can't tell you how uplifting it is to understand that even though I might not be in the room and watching people's faces and hearing the laughs or looking at the puzzled expressions when they aren't quite sure where I'm going with a story, that kind of feedback is priceless. But the ability to work from home, to develop the ideas based on real human contact in the virtual space, it's just wonderful and well worth the effort and even the little scary moments. So here's a few things that might be of help to those of you making this transition to go from live interaction, live sessions, one-on-one or one-to-many, to the virtual space. The first is keep an open mind, okay? It's important to acknowledge that you might be uncomfortable or nervous or have thoughts like, this is really hard, or I'm not a techie. But if you can approach it with a curiosity and a desire to learn, sort of see it as an exercise in expanding your ability to master new skills, to keep your brain alive and active. That's how I do anyway. And as I get older, and there's all kinds of new technologies that get introduced that can make things even easier and better, I notice in myself sometimes that initial feeling like, oh my gosh, a new platform, a new app, a new system. But typically I do try to embrace it as, I'm preventing mental deterioration. And so there's a lot to be said for keeping your mind open. You can do this, and it will be different, and you'll have questions, and it might be awkward at times. And if you're feeling that transitioning to online is just too hard, here's something that you can try. Sit down in a quiet place and take out a sheet of paper and think about the times in your life when you have faced something really difficult and you've rallied yourself, or you found the courage to step into the unknown, to step outside of that comfort zone when you didn't really know how things were going to unfold exactly. And think about what you did in those moments that helped you surpass your ability to move into what was possible, what you couldn't have imagined. So it can really help to come up with past recollections and experiences that will remind you of times when you have taken risks or done things you thought were way too difficult that turned out to be really great decisions for you. And that will help you be less anxious about transitioning into the virtual space. You know, we all have stories that we can remind ourselves of times when we went way past what we thought we could do. And we often tuck those away in the corner and we forget that we are much more capable, resourceful, resilient, creative than we sometimes give ourselves credit for. I love this quote, by the way, leap and the net will appear. And that has proven true for me so many times. There have been so many experiences I've had and transitions I've made where I didn't know exactly how things were going to unfold or how they were going to come about, but I trusted myself. And so take note of those limiting beliefs that might close your mind, bring them to the surface to get them out in the open and address them directly, but don't be held back by them. One of the beliefs that I had to address was that as a therapist, I thought I needed to see people in person, you know, that you read cues when you're in close proximity to someone, you catch nuances in conversation or in comments that they make or ways they express themselves, a sigh, all the in between the lines stuff. But what I've learned is that a lot can be conveyed virtually if you're really present, if all of you is there. And it needs to, now that the world is living in these conditions. People really need emotional support. They need guidance. They need help. So we work with what we have. Acknowledge those uncertainties or that discomfort. These are all normal reactions. I love the work of John Kabat-Zinn, and he talks about putting out the welcome mat for whatever feelings show up. He's a mindfulness teacher, brought mindfulness-based stress reduction to the West, and he talks about that welcome mat. So don't sweep these uncomfortable feelings under the rug, get them out in the open, invite anxiety or fear into the room, listen to it. In fact, you can even have a conversation with your limiting ideas. See what they're trying to protect you from, see what they're afraid of, write it down, and try to get on friendly terms with that part of you. It's just trying to protect you. It's just afraid that moving into the virtual space, trying to deliver your content in a virtual way might be too hard or it might expose you. Who knows? But have a conversation. Remember, it's human nature. We don't really like change. It's uncomfortable, but we're also incredibly adaptable. So treat yourself the way you would treat a friend who is embarking on something new or challenging. Keep in mind and remember all the other times when you went beyond what you thought was possible. And if possible, find a partner or an ally who will listen to you if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed and encourage you, cheer you on as you take those steps. Support is really important whenever we try new things. So keep an open mind. The second thing I want to say about mindset is start simple. Pick one topic, something that you love, something that you're really passionate about, something that you're really excited about, and that's proven to be a hit with the people who you've worked with in the past. And often it's best to identify a problem that your clients often have faced, something that you've been able to help people with. So choose that one topic or issue and then create a simple outline, maybe the key elements or bullet points that you want to share that illustrate the point. Tell stories to help bring this idea to life so that people feel that you know the world that they're living in, that you know the planet that they're living on, and remind them or share people you've worked with who have faced an issue like your audience has, and then talk about how you have helped them resolve it. Generally, I would say when you're moving into the virtual world, start with a presentation of less than an hour, unless you really like to talk, that's fine too. And for those of you who feel like, oh my gosh, an hour, that's just way too much time, then do something for 10 minutes. Maybe an Instagram or Facebook Live, just get your feet wet, get started. That's always the way that we can get the confidence and courage to keep going, is to start with small, manageable units of newness, and then move our way, live our way through success into taking bigger and bigger steps. It can also be helpful to generate a list of questions that you're likely to be asked so that you're prepared at the end of your presentation to address the kind of concerns that people might bring up. The third thing I want to say about mindset is keep in mind that we need to acknowledge our successes, however small they may seem. We humans have a tendency to focus on our mistakes and our missteps and to overlook our successes. But we need to acknowledge our progress if we're going to keep moving forward. It's just how it is. It's what fuels and invigorates us, especially when we're doing something new or uncomfortable. So brag to yourself about your little successes, or tell it to your houseplant, or tell your dog, do you know what I did today? I actually delivered a Facebook Live. We need to really shift the focus from what isn't going well or what's hard to the things, however small they might seem to you. They're not small. To make any progress at all is really quite an accomplishment. So journal what went well. And then before you start dissecting the things that didn't go well, again, get down the things that you feel good about. And then rather than moving into shame or regret with, focus on, I think people responded well to this, and maybe I got a little lost when I went into this area. Next time I'll skip ABC and I'll do more XYZ. So you want to learn from your experiences. Trust me, I'm still learning. Every time I do a virtual event, there are things I feel like I do really well, and there's things I could do better. So keeping that relaxed, accepting, compassionate view of ourselves as we stumble our way through can really be the way to keep us motivated to go on. So now I want to share a few tips about working from home. Understand this. This is the most important thing. You will never be done. Never, ever. You will never be caught up. Ever, never. So this takes discipline, and you have to accept that sometimes it's time for a break. Sometimes it's time to call it a day. Even if you have lots of things on your list that feel really good to cross off, just stop. And I know many times we use the word balance, and is it possible to have a balanced life? I guess we can aim for it, but I do know that one of the things I've learned after having worked at home for a long, long time is that I have to love myself enough, especially because I'm a driver and I love my work so much. But I have to recognize that life is not just about getting things done. It's about those quiet moments, the times that we rest and recharge. So it can really help to have a schedule in your calendar that tells you when you're in work mode and when you're not, when you're in leisure mode, rest mode, play mode, exercise, TV, whatever you like to do, and to honor that, including family time, personal time to recharge, time for exercise, time for a hobby or a passion, time to have a proper meal where you actually sit down and you eat the whole meal without a device, without reading, without doing anything else, and time for quiet and rest. Because it is easy when you step into the virtual space to burn out. The computer's always there. There's always a new idea. So I urge you and encourage you to really commit yourself to creating boundaries and creating space for yourself to have an ordinary, non-productive life where you're not accomplishing anything at all, but you're enjoying the gift of being alive. You're enjoying nature, you're enjoying the people who you love, you're enjoying time with yourself, a good book, whatever it is that recharges you and nourishes you. I think working from home really gives you a chance to practice radical self-love and respect as you set realistic and compassionate boundaries. Remember, it takes discipline. And I'm also a big fan of unplugged stretches of time. That might be a weekend or a Sunday, or it might be anything after 6 p.m. You just don't open your device, you don't turn on, you don't look at your phone, you don't check your messages. Or it could be a stretch where you stay off email. I typically try and take two-week periods a year. That means 2 weeks where I'm off email completely, at least 2 weeks. And I come back to my work in the virtual space renewed and refreshed and excited. If I don't do that, I'm just dragging, and it shows. It shows in my health, it shows in my spirit, and it, I'm sure, shows up in how I show up for the people I serve. Keep in mind that disconnecting from devices, while it is a really important ingredient for us to recharge, it's really hard. Like, I've done lots of workshops on this. I've learned a lot about the effect of digital, internet, social media. All of it is such a feel good experience for the brain. The brain loves that level of arousal and stimulation. We love the dopamine. But we have to, I think, get good at being uncomfortable with having this great idea or something we just want to check for a minute. If it's our unplugged time, then we honor that. I have a whiteboard in my kitchen where if I get a super brilliant idea, which we all know may not be as brilliant as we thought, but if I get an idea that seems really brilliant, I'll jot down a phrase that reminds me of that on the whiteboard. So I'm not opening my device, because that is a slippery slope. I'm just going to open my computer, or I'm just going to, get onto my phone to jot this thing down, and then, 2 hours later. So trust yourself that those great ideas are gifts that you get to channel into the world, but you don't have to exhaust yourself by acting on every single one. There's a difference between important and urgent. So if you're falling asleep at night and you think you've had some great epiphany about something that you could do that would really make an impact or a difference, just let yourself fall asleep and trust that that idea will continue to germinate and work and evolve, even if you don't jump up and write it down. So I want to talk about some of the likely challenges that you might face moving into the virtual space. The first is kind of obvious. It's technology overwhelm. As I said earlier, some of us are tech, junkies, and some of us we're transitioning from a profession where we don't know hardly anything. We're just learning how to use Zoom, maybe. So my suggestion is that you pick one platform or tool at a time. There's lots of videos on anything you might want to use. So if it's Zoom or whatever the platform might be, pick one, watch videos, ask for help from the support staff, or join a Facebook community for that particular app. Don't try to use every feature of whatever program you're going to be using. Just pick one or two features at a time. And remember, on those Facebook groups, experienced users there's always people there who want to help and support you. And be okay going slowly. This is one of the most important things I learned about transitioning to online programs and classes, is that one step at a time. You do this little by little. It's taken me years to get to where I am. We have a very large international community of parents now, but it's taken a long time, and I have learned so much, but there's tons I still don't know. So be okay with that. Be okay with good enough is good enough, I often say. I often say that in the context of parenting, but I think it's true in so many realms of our life. We do our best. We acknowledge our successes, but we don't try and take everything on at once. Now, if you can, you might want to hire experienced help, even for 5 hours a week. It helps not only to get some of the work done that you aren't as experienced or talented at, but it's also really nice to have someone to bounce ideas off of and reduce that feeling of going it alone, because that is another one of the challenges, is feeling like you're on your own. Speaking of going it alone, if you're an extrovert and you really are fortified by interacting with people, maybe you've come from an office environment or a place where you're always seeing other people, telling jokes, hanging out, again, bouncing ideas, it's going to be important for you to have some version of that collegiality. And that might be through small mastermind groups or support groups with a few colleagues. It might be social or physical distanced get-togethers where you're, the appropriate number of feet away, but you're connecting with other people in a human way. That may feed you and be really important if you're moving from a place where you've been around a lot of people to just working by yourself. Make sure that in one form or another, you meet that need. Now, if you're already an introvert and you're really happy not to see anybody, you might have another challenge. You might feel shy, for instance, about being on camera. Just be present with it. Try shorter videos initially, or you could do pre-recorded rather than live video, just to give you some comfort. You can edit out the parts where you feel a little clumsy, or you can even just start with audio if that's better. Some people might find it easier to deliver audio content where they're not on screen. One of the other challenges that people in my profession are going to have to overcome, or some accommodation they're going to have to make, is that you're teaching to many people instead of just one. And that means that, your message is, of course, less personal unless you're working one-on-one during your coaching sessions, which I do. And I love that. And I do feel very connected with the person I'm with. There's another aspect of that, though, is that, as I said earlier, I'm not seeing the feedback of the people I'm speaking with unless I'm in Zoom meeting mode where I have all the faces up there at once. So a lot of times when I do a live event, I've done events all over the world with audiences of parents, and it's so fun because I can see their eyes, I can see them laughing, I can see their confused looks when I need to clarify or expand on an idea. When I'm just a talking head, I really have to try to connect heart to heart with the people I'm serving. And sometimes that means I'm just imagining them. And that has been a challenge for me, for sure. I love getting emails from people. And of course, in Zoom now, when we can turn the cameras on, it really helps as well. But long before I was able to see anyone, I really had to work inside myself to picture that person on the other end of the screen, taking this in and imagining their life. In my case, their life as a parent, a mother or father, listening, processing, considering, imagining how the ideas or strategies I was offering could make them feel closer to their child, could reduce their stress, could create more cooperation and connection. And because over these many years, I've gotten so much feedback, that's not terribly hard for me to do, but I still have to make the effort to do it so that I'm really with the people who I'm serving, like right now, imagining all of you as you watch this. Now, I want to say a few things about those of you who are working from home and who have children. This is sort of my area, parenting. Here's a few practicalities, but start by understanding this is challenging. It's hard. It's difficult. It's not easy. However you want to put it, we can try and be positive. It's an opportunity for you to become more creative and adaptable. But here's some things that I've discovered from the many parents who I've worked with over this time of social and physical distancing. Make sure that there are specific times that your children know about when mommy and daddy or daddy are available for play and when they're working. And be prepared for children to be frustrated or disappointed. This is a cornerstone of the work that I do with parents, which is really helping them understand that we're not just raising children, we're raising adults. And when we help our children cope with frustration, not by giving them the thing they want or moving the universe more to their liking, but when we actually make it space for them to feel sad, frustrated, disappointed, without scrambling or giving them lots of reasons why they can't have the thing they want, we convey that we have confidence in their resilience. We convey that we have faith in their capacity to cope with disappointment. So be prepared for your kids to not like it that you have to work. Of course, take breaks. take breaks. And when you take your break, try and give some real concentrated one-on-one time with your children. You can even let them have a timer for how long you're going to be working. Let's say you're going to work for 45 minutes and then you're going to be theirs for 10 minutes. Now make sure you get time for yourself as well. And then during that one-on-one time, give them a heavy dose. Chase them around the house, laugh, play, make a snack, tell jokes, and be prepared for them to complain when you have to go back to work. Help them feel their sadness without apologizing. This is just part of the way it is. And again, I have so much confidence that children are flexible, they're adaptable if we have confidence and faith in them to cope when they can't have the thing they want, which is going to often be you if you're home, but you're not really available to them. It can help to have a designated workspace as well. And you can even put something on the doorknob if you have the luxury of a space where you can close the door, or something on the doorknob that says, Mommy's working. They've got their little timer. They know when you'll be out again. With younger children, or if you have absolutely no help and your kids just can't sit and look at a screen for 8 hours a day, you can have a basket of things. When they just can't live without you, they have to be near you. And it helps to rotate the items in that basket. Maybe choose some of their favorite toys and games so that they aren't available the rest of the time, but they magically show up at the basket at your feet when you need a little bit more time to work and you've got a young child who just can't part from you, who needs to be near you. You can also give your kids little jobs to do. You know, a lot of times it isn't just that they want you to talk with them, they just want to be breathing the same air that you are. They just want to be in your vicinity. And when it's time to be with your kids, it may be hard to disentangle yourself from work. You know, there's a part of us that is very stimulated and likes working, at least a lot of us. I know that's true for me. I have to actually make a conscious effort to not only close my computer and leave the area where I work, but also choose and decide and intend to be with those I love, or to be with myself, and make that kind of an imaginary line that I'm now moving away. I'm not in work mode anymore, even if you don't feel done. And if possible, take those stretches of days where you're just not working. You're just with your family, yourself, your kids, recharging, reconnecting. That word balance again. Here are some specific suggestions for those of you who are authors, parenting coaches, someone in a profession similar to mine. Ask yourself what you want to teach. And one of the ways to get to a clear answer is, what are you most passionate about when it comes to supporting the people you serve? In my case, it's parents. What's unique about you, or how you articulate your wisdom, or the things you've discovered in the course of your career? So in my case, for instance, I have come up with a way of helping parents understand 3 ways that they can interact with their children. And I use my hands to illustrate. My right hand represents the parent, my left hand represents the child. So when the right hand is above the left hand, that doesn't mean the parent's better or more worthy of respect or anything. It just means that they're the grown-up in the room. And I call that being the captain of the ship. Just like on a ship, right? There would be, you know, a captain who you hope is competent and capable, so that if the alarm goes off, you know, the captain doesn't leap over the side of the ship saying, oh my gosh. So all of my work is built on this idea of being that calm, confident captain of the ship. The second way we can interact, though, which many parents are familiar with, is as the lawyer. So here the parent is in charge. Here no one is in charge. We're arguing, battling, you know, sweetheart, it's time to start your homework. I don't want to. Well, you have to. Why? It's stupid. Because your teacher said you need to, but my teacher doesn't know anything. If you don't start your homework, then you're not going to learn anything. Yes, I will. You know, anyway, you know where this goes. Dad didn't do his homework, and look where he is. He's a big CEO, whatever the thought is. Yeah, but daddy should have done it, and he didn't. Right. So nobody's in charge, and the lawyer. And then it can get worse. The child is now saying, I'm not going to, and you can't make me. You know what? If you don't want to do your homework, then no sleepover for you this weekend. You're the meanest parent in the world. And down here, we're the dictator. We have no genuine power or authority. So the dictator rules by fear and intimidation because they want to feel like they're in control. But what I teach isn't about control, it's about being in charge as the captain of the ship. So you've got the parent bribing, threatening, punishing, just like a dictator throws people in jail, wipes out bank accounts. So what I'm known for, it's on my website, it's in all the presentations I offer, is helping parents be the calm captain of the ship rather than getting stuck in lawyer mode or dictator mode. And if you can come up with something for yourself that kind of embodies or encapsulates some of the biggest, most important points of what you teach, that can be really helpful as you take that into the virtual space. And this could be, like I said, your trademark idea or a strategy and something that you want people to associate with you when you teach in your niche. Another thing for those of you who are coaching is to deliver fresh, valuable content in your email. So I think it's important to build an email list, but lots of smarter people than me on this series will be explaining lots of things about newsletters and lead magnets and autoresponders and all of that good stuff. But I do think it's important. And in those newsletters, you can have written content, audio content, links to video clips. Building that relationship with the people you want to serve is really valuable. And I know for me, having a customer relationship management system has been really crucial, something that takes in people's email addresses and segments and tags and allows us to process sales, and all of that can be kind of fundamental. Another thing that you can do to build your audience is to find out what they want and what they need with surveys. And this allows you to learn from the people who are following your work and really listen and tune in to the things they're talking about, what their biggest struggles are. Remember, though, that what people say they want isn't always what they need, and that's where you come in. You can see the larger view. You can see that even though their complaint, I might have a parent, for instance, a frequent one is that parents complain that their kids don't do what they ask. Well, I don't see that as, okay, we'll tell them to do this or say these words. I always get to the underlying issue, which might be connection that we want to strengthen. It might be something going on in the parent-child relationship. It might be another issue the child is playing out by defiance. So, show your expertise, show your experience, something that you really stand for and have proven yourself to be able to help people resolve an issue, but listen to what they're talking about while you also think about how can I really help that resolve, not just give them the thing they think they want, which in my case is often, what should I say when my child won't put his dish in the sink? So I'm not about scripting, I'm about addressing the underlying issue, and hopefully you have your own version of that. Now, if you are in the parenting space, here are a few things that might be helpful to you as you move into the virtual space. First, keep in mind, parents are really hard on themselves. You probably know that. Be supportive, be accepting, be validating. I don't mean to coddle people, but when you normalize what people are going through, because look, it is hard to raise children. I often say that just because you became a parent doesn't mean you changed species or became a saint or developed infinite patience. We're still just who we are. And so if you're working with parents, they will really appreciate knowing that you understand that, and that our old patterns and our old triggers and buttons get pushed when stuff comes up from our own childhood in those challenging moments. So communicate that you get that, and also make sure that the things you teach and that you share with your parenting community are things you've actually tested in the real world with your kids, with your clients, in real situations, because it's important that what you teach reflects your lived experience and not just theories. Keep in mind also that parents are really busy. It's really not easy to carve out space. So long rambling content might be less useful than short, to the point communications with practical strategies and ideas. The other thing that I have found to be really helpful is collaboration. There's so many wonderful authors and speakers and therapists out there. Don't be afraid to team up with colleagues to magnify your reach and to multiply the value of your message. Now, here's another really important thing. I think one of the most important thing is be aware of your motivation. We human beings have an amazing ability to sense authenticity or its absence. The more you can speak from a sense of purpose, the sense of purpose that drives your mission, that motivates you to do what you do, the more people will feel that and be moved by it. And that is so much at the heart of how we connect virtually with people. I think it's been a big part of my success. People sense my passion, hopefully. It's not too hard to find it, because I'm so passionate about helping parents raise children who feel seen, cherished, celebrated for who they uniquely are, and for helping parents have an easier and more joyful experience doing that and healing in their own way from the wounds that they have unresolved from their own childhoods that seem to show up in the course of raising our kids. So this is something that can be communicated, but I connect with that every single time I begin a session. Before I hit record, I sit for a moment and I connect with my heart, with my spirit, with this feeling of gratitude that I get to do this work. And I think that that really comes through. I feel called to do this work. It's what drives me, even when I hit those bumps in the road, which I do hit all the time. And I think people really respond to that. So if your motivation is just monetary, or it's around fear or wanting to be acknowledged, noticed, that's going to be felt also. So identify what really matters to you beyond the financial reward or the security, and people will feel that and be moved by that. I hope these ideas have been helpful to you. I know how scary it is to feel like you have to reinvent yourself at a time when you're also trying to keep up with so many changes in the world and stay healthy and strong and look after yourselves and keep up with this changing economy. I commend you for being willing to step into this virtual space and take that leap. If you have something to share that can help others, though, it's so worth it. There's so much support here for you. I hope you take advantage of it, and I wish you all the best in this journey ahead. Have faith in yourself, take small steps, keep an open mind, keep an open heart, see it as an adventure, because it is. You can do this, and enjoy the unfolding of this next chapter. For more information about my work, you can visit susanstiffelman.com. I wish you all the best.